Okay, so this day is a little weird because we're not doing a new section. What we're going to try to do is tie the information together from sections 5.5 and 5.6. I found in past years, especially 5.5, kind of trips students up a little bit, but after going through this day, they have like a much better understanding of what's going on. So that's the goal, is just to do a couple big examples here and make sure we understand what's going on. It's all about polynomials, which again are like x to the fourth, x to the fifth, et cetera, and finding the solutions to those polynomials. Okay, so here's our first question, and there's a note sheet if you're in class, I give it to you. If not, you could print it off our website or just do them in your notes would work just as well too. All right, so I want you to do as much of this as you can, see what you can remember. There's tons of research that says you learn way more trying to remember than just watching me do it. So after you've jotted it down, do everything you can for this question. All right, hopefully you had a chance to give it a try. So this is going to have three answers because of the cube, the highest exponent is 3. And then for what is possible, rational solutions are possible, we have to do a factor. Rational, again, is just a over b. And the top part, the numerator part, will be a factor of the constant, and the denominator will be a factor of the leading coefficient. There's some, well, it's actually called the rational number theorem that guarantees that that would be true. So the constant term is 18, technically negative 18, but we'll do a plus minus at the end, so it doesn't matter if you do positive or negative 18. The leading coefficient is just 1, right out front there. So the factors of 1 are just 1. The factors of 18 are 1 and 18, 2 and 9, and then 3 and 6. So now I have to pair up. We only have one denominator, but we have to pair it with all our numerator possibilities. Okay, so I'm going to make a big list. So 1 over 1, 18 over 1, 2 over 1, 9 over 1, 3 over 1, 6 over 1. Okay, and so if it has an irrational, remember there's a 3 type, rational, irrational, and imaginary. So if it is a rational type, it has to be on this list. All right, and technically we have to do a plus or minus because it can be positive or negative, any of those rational answers right there. Okay, and students can always say, why do this list, Mr. Westphal? It's a pain, I have to list them out. But the reason is when we start to find the answers, right? So this is the main guts of this chapter, is to be able to find them. And when we do that, we're going to look on our calculator first. And so what this tells us is what do we got to set the window at? Okay, so for this particular question, the highest and lowest is positive or negative 18. So if you want to make sure that we get everything from our calculator, we should check the window a little bit beyond that. Okay, so when I graph this one, I'm going to make the window maybe negative 20 and positive 20 to make sure we get all the answers. Okay, so in my calculator, you can do that by going to the window, and I'm going to set x min to negative 20 and x max to positive 20 to make sure I see all the answers. Okay, so to start finding them, I'm going to enter them in. So I'm going to clear out whatever I have and then enter in that polynomial. So x cubed, and again, I do x variable here, this little hat, and then 3, that's how I get an x cubed. And then I'm going to speed through the rest of this. Now that I've got it entered, I'm just going to hit graph, and I'm going to see if I can see any rational answers. Okay, and by the looks of it, it looks like just 2 is our only rational answer, right? And we could zoom in a little bit if we wanted to be super careful. Maybe I'll zoom standard number 6 just to make sure, but I'm pretty confident it's crossing right there at 2. All right, so that's one of our 3 answers. Remember, there should be 3. So you have x equals 2 as one answer. And then to get the rest of them, we're going to use synthetic division. And we put the answer in the window again. So we're going to put the 2 here. List the coefficients, 1x cubed, negative 2x squared, 9x, and constant of negative 18. Okay, and then drop this one down is 1, multiply with the window to get 2. Add them together to get 0, multiply with the window is 0, add is 9, multiply with the window is 18, add them together is 0. Right, so things are going well because we got a remainder of 0. And so now we have constant x and x squared. right? So that would leave us with x squared plus 9. Okay? And we can solve that to get our other two answers. And this one's pretty straightforward. Because you have just x squared, you can use algebra steps. So minus 9, and then take the square root. So we're going to get plus or minus the square root of negative 9, which is plus minus 3i. All right. And so we talked about the other day the different types of solutions. We've got rational, irrational, and imaginary. And so we can kind of see, just to tie all this together, we have one rational answer up here. Right? Remember, those don't necessarily come in pairs. According to our chart here, they don't always come in pairs. I'll probably add that on there. These ones are not pairs, not necessarily pairs. These are always pairs, right? So the rational one didn't have a pair, and then this is two imaginary, right? So it's a plus minus pair. Because we know that those always come in pairs, it makes sense that we got a plus minus pair of imaginary. So that's just to kind of tie together, like, what is this chart really saying? Which is these imaginary ones are always in pairs, and the rational ones, they might be pairs, they might not. It really depends on the situation. All right, so there's your chart, which hopefully you have in your notes from yesterday. Irrational, imaginary always come in pairs. These ones are not necessarily in pairs. Rational. All right, so same thing. One more x cubed coming at us. Hopefully you can do this one pretty much on your own at this point. So pause the video and give it a shot. All right, so part A, there's 3 answers because of the x cubed. For what is possible, we take the constant, factors of a constant over the factors of the leading coefficient. So constant is, let's see, 7 or negative 7. Leading coefficient is 1. So factors of 7 are just 1 and 7. And factors of 1 are just 1. So our list is actually pretty short here. 1 over 1 and 7 over 1. Technically plus or minus. So those are the only 4 answers that are possible for rational. Again, if it's this rational type, it has to be one of those 4. All right, and then to find them, we just start with our calculator. So we type that in and get the graph. We know that this one we don't have to look quite as far. The standard window will work, right? Because the highest or lowest we could be at is negative 7 and positive 7. So we can just use a regular window when we graph this one. All right, so now I'm going to hit graph. And I got my regular window. And this is what it looks like in here. So go back and hit graph. And we said if it's rational, it has to be plus or minus 1 or plus or minus 7. So we see 3 answers here, but the only one that's rational looks like negative 1. These 2 other ones, they don't fall on one of the numbers in our list, so that must be a pair of irrational, right? So just again, to make sense of all this, these are real. Any real ones will show up on the calculator. So when we see 3 answers here, we see 1 that must be the rational type, and then a pair that must be irrational. So these 2 ones that aren't on our list of rational ones is a pair of irrational. So there and there. Okay, so we could certainly get all the decimal values off there if you want, right? If you want to get the decimal values right off your calculator, you could and be done. But to me, it's just as easy to do synthetic division, right? Once you get fast with this, it goes pretty good. So my rational answer was negative 1 from my list. So throw it in the window, do synthetic division, and it'll go, usually this goes pretty good if you get good at synthetic division. So answer in the window, coefficients 1, 1, negative 7 from the polynomial. Drop it down, multiply with the window. This would be negative 1, add, multiply with the window, add, multiply with the window, add. Okay, so we got a remainder of 0, constant x and x squared. And this looks pretty good, so we just have x squared minus 7. All right, so we can solve that to get 2 more answers. So just add 7 and take the square root. So our other 2 answers must be plus or minus 7. Okay, so if we label these, we got 1 real, and then we got a pair of irrational, right? Because again, those always come in pairs, and so it's not surprising that we got a plus minus pair of irrational solutions here. Right, and that must be what these two numbers are right here. Those must be plus or minus square root 7. All right, moving right along, we got two more examples here. And looks like I did the graph for you here just to save a little bit of time. Again, pause the video, give it a shot, and then you can watch your solution. All right, so 4 answers here because it's x to the 4th. For what is possible, you take the constant, which is 6 or negative 6, and the leading coefficient, which is 2. So 6 has factors of 1 and 6, 2 and 3. 2 has just factors of 1 and 2. So I'm going to pair them all up. So I always take the denominator of 1 and pair it with all the numerators. So 1 over 1, 6 over 1, 2 over 1, 3 over 1. And then take the denominator of 2. So 1 over 2, 6 over 2, 2 over 2, and 3 over 2. Sorry, I kind of ran out of space. Duplicates you can cross out. So 6 over 2 is the same thing as 3. 2 over 2 is the same thing as 1. And then do plus minus. So I can't quite fit it there. I kind of got it. Plus minus. So plus minus all those. So if it has rational answers, right, it has to be on this list. And so our window we don't have to set very wide here, right? Our highest and lowest is plus or minus 6. So we don't need a very big window, right? And just to save time, I already made the graph. So you can see that we've got two rational answers. So we're kind of halfway there, -1 and 2. Got 2 of our 4 answers. Those are both rational. Okay, and then we just do our synthetic division process, right? And we got to do it twice this time because we have 2 rational answers. So into the window, put 2, and then our coefficients are 2, -3. Oh, we got a gap. We don't have any x squared, so that's a little tricky here. So I got to do 0x squareds, -1x, and -6. Right, and then synthetic divide, so drop the 2, multiply to get 4, add, multiply with the window, add, multiply with the window, add, multiply with the window. Okay, and things look good because we got remainder 0. All right, so now we're going to synthetic divide again, put the other answer in, and it doesn't really matter if what order you do these two numbers here, but I usually do the positive one first because it's easier. At any rate, drop the 2, multiply with the window would be, let's see, -2, add to get -1, multiply with the window to get 1, add to get 3, multiply with the window -3, add one more time, and that's good because the remainder is 0. All right, so now we have 2x squared minus x plus 3. All right, and so we got to solve that to get 2 more answers. Right? It's probably going to be a pair of imaginary, because if they don't show up on the graph, then they must be imaginary answers, right? And so from before, we got to do our quad formula to find the other 2 answers, right? So I'm going to do A of 2, B of -1, and C of 3. Okay, I'm going to have to get more space here, so sorry. You have to go back in the video if you need to see the rest of this. All right, so I always do the check mark first. So I'm going to do -1 b squared minus 4 times a times c. So we get 1 minus, let's see, that'd be a times 3, 24. So -23. Okay, and we're going to clean that up. There's no perfect squares, but we can pull off the negative part and make that the I. So you get x equals the opposite of b, so that'd be 1 plus or minus I square root of 23, and divide it all by 2 times a. So 2 times 2 would be 4, and that's it. Okay, and that is a pair of imaginary. Okay, so we got a pair of imaginary answers and then 2 rational, right? Which I'm going to scroll back up there, and those are my 2 rational, -1 and 2. All right, last one I didn't quite get to, but I can throw the answers up here if you want to check. All right, so there's the work and what it looks like for the last one if you just want to check your work.